Hi everyone. So I just wanted to jump on and share with you what my mindset is like right now, what I'm working on, and what you can take from my experience when it comes to scaling up and growing businesses from 6 to 7 to 8 figures and beyond. Now, I've come to learn that over the last 12 years in business, there are really two big blockers that stop every company from scaling up. And the first one is the business owner. And the second one is the business model. Now, a business can only grow as far as the business owner has the knowledge to take it. And a business owner, even with knowledge, can only scale a company if he has the right operating model. If it's got good cash flow, if it has strong margins, if it has higher tickets, if it's in demand. And ultimately, a growing business needs a system and an operation to underpin it. And the more reactive the business is, the harder it is to predict how many leads, how much opportunity, how many sales, how much revenue you're going to be able to generate. Meaning that you're always at the mercy of the market and you're never really in the driving seat. You're not running the business is running you. So if you want to build a very successful business, what you've got to do first and foremost is ask yourself, how knowledgeable am I around business? Have I got 100 grand a year knowledge? Have I got 250 grand a year knowledge? A half a mil, maybe 10. But the reality is, at every level of growth, it's going to require a different version of you. It's going to require new decisions, new leadership skills, new mindset, new skill set, new habits. You're going to have to be more resilient. You're going to have to take bigger risks. And you're going to have more bandwidth as you scale and grow. Now, ultimately, I see business owners trying to just continue to scale up their operation, but they're never evolving their operating model. You know, what have you got between the ears? What have you got in here? Are you working on, iOS 18, or are you still operating Windows 98? Because if our mobile phones have to update every year to evolve with technology, then a human needs to do the same. The business owner needs to do the same. The entrepreneur needs to do the same. For me, it's black and white. It's really obvious. And if you don't know what you don't know, you're not going to know the things that I'm telling you to do, and it means that you're not going to take action on it. The biggest challenge to building an 8-figure education business in the last 5 years, Trade Mastermind, has been getting businesses to see that they need education. We need to educate them on the need for education, because everybody just thinks that you show up and start making some moves and that all of a sudden you're going to be really, really successful. And that, it's luck that defines success rather than strategy, focus, blueprints. And that is what defines success, by the way. It's not luck. It's the blueprint, the process, the strategy. That's what's going to get you from A to B to Z and beyond. So once you start committing to personal development, you start investing in education, you start getting mentored, getting trained, joining masterminds, being around winners, meeting new people, that is what's going to get you into a position where you understand the next level. Because that's ultimately what it is. It's you knowing, where am I right now? Where do I need to get to? And who do I need to become to be able to make the leap? And then you've got to look at your business model. And I heard Alex Hormozi say this. You can have a level 10 skill set in a level 2 opportunity and constantly feel like you are failing. It took me 7 years to build my first 8-figure business, and it took me 5 years to do it in the one that I'm currently running. Now, how have I done it in almost half the time? Well, it's because I have not just evolved as an operator, so I'm a lot smarter, but I've got a better business model, a more scalable business model, one that comes with bigger cash, bigger margins, less material outlay, a lot less moving parts, and so you can move with speed and precision. And the cash flow that you get from selling those products helps to fund the growth. And that's really important to know. So if you're in a dead business model, that no matter how many times you try and evolve the thing, it just doesn't scale because it's a negative cash flow model or it doesn't have the right margin, then you've got to decide on your next move. And that move is to know when to quit. Because you've got to know when to quit as much as you've got to know when to keep going. And if you stay in something too long that is just never going to get you to the next level, then ultimately you're just wasting time. And it's something that you've got to get confident and stronger at understanding. And the more education that you have, the more mentors that are surrounding you, the more people that have been where you want to go, they will help you to better understand what the journey looks like. And you've got to begin with the end in mind, and you've got to understand what opportunity vehicles are going to get you there. One of my early mentors said to me, Joseph, your business journey is a journey full of decisions to know when to upgrade to the next vehicle. And he framed it like this. You leave your house, you get into a taxi. That taxi can take a couple of people with you, and it's only really designed to go around the town. At some point, you're going to have to stop the taxi, you're going to have to get out, and you're going to have to get into a bigger vehicle. So you arrive at the coach station, you get onto a coach, you can take a lot more people, and that's designed to go up and down the country. And then eventually, you're going to come to your next stop, and you're going to have to get out of that vehicle and go and get on a train. You're going to arrive at the train station. Now that thing can go through the channel and can take a lot more people than a coach can take. And it moves a lot faster. So at every level of growth, you are upgrading the opportunity vehicle. And then one day you're going to get off the train, you're going to arrive at the airport, and that thing can take you all the way to the other side of the world. It's faster, it's more scalable, and it can go further. And if you're really ambitious, one day you're going to arrive at the space station and you're going to get into a rocket and you're going to go all the way to the moon. Now, understanding how much money you want to make, how much wealth you want to create, and understanding which of these opportunity vehicles is going to help you achieve those goals is so important before you set out on the journey. Because what we see is so many business owners that don't begin with the end in mind, don't really understand the journey that they're going to go on, and then they end up lost somewhere in the future, wondering how the hell they woke up in this position. They haven't achieved their goals. They haven't got the wealth that they wanted. Their business is running them. They're stressed out, tired, and frustrated, and they are no further forward, having wasted some good years that could have been better spent on the right plan, strategy, and journey. Well, it takes someone like me to give you this piece of content, so that if you are in that scenario, it can make you consciously competent to what decision that you need to make next. And I'm obsessing over my own journey, my own opportunity vehicles, my own personal development, and my own business model. Because I would never tell you to do something that I am not doing at scale. I spend £250,000 a year on my personal development and my education. I constantly invest in my company millions of pounds every year for it to grow, scale, and get to the next level. I'm always evolving the operating model from education to business services to partnerships to buying to building and to, partnering up. And that's what it takes. And that's how you move through the revenue brackets from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9. You launch more product lines, you scale into bigger markets, you evolve your offering, you find new customers. That's what's going to get you to grow. And then you underpin your business with great operations, with great systems, with great processes, and ultimately great people. But when you build a great business and you build something, I always say, building a business isn't pretty. And in a lot of cases, that thing is going to be an absolute chaos machine. And imagine you're trying to build a beautiful vase. Yeah, you got a pottery wheel, it's spinning. Well, how do you start out to make a beautiful vase? You go and get some big lumps of clay, don't you? And you whack it on the pottery wheel like this, like this, like this, like this. And you start with this big brown mountain of clay. It's not pretty, it's ugly, but it's the foundations. There's enough there, there's enough mass there to now start to spin the wheel. And as you spin the wheel, you mold the wheel out, and eventually it comes up with this beautiful vase, okay? But you're going to cut bits off, you're going to add bits on, and you don't get emotional about how that thing looks in the middle. You keep the vision in your mind about what it is that you're trying to do, and that's so important as you scale up and grow. Is to understand that end goal, understand that vision, have that picture in your mind of what it is that you're going to build, because when you get there, okay, it's going to be worth it. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. And ultimately, as an entrepreneur, my advice to you is no matter what happens, you keep showing up. You don't give up and you don't stop showing up, because if you do, you're failing. And if you fail, that's no good for you. It's no good for anyone. And you're going to fail along the way. But failure is only really failure if you give up, okay? But if you keep going, if you keep showing up and have lots of mini losses along the way, that's cool. That's what business is. That's what entrepreneurship is really all about. And every new level of growth, you're going to have new problems. And so your indicator for success is to understand, well, have I got the same problem or have I got new problems? Because if you've got new problems, you're moving forward. If you've got the same problems, you're staying exactly where you are and you're doing absolutely nothing about it. And in business, for me, there are really only two types of tasks. There are delivery tasks and there are development tasks. Well, delivery tasks in its simplest form is keeping the shop open. Yeah, you're opening the shop, you're ringing up the till, you're stocking the shelves, okay, you're loading up from the cash and carry, you're giving out the receipts, and you're closing the shop. That's the day-to-day. Now, if as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, you spend your whole life on delivery, just running the day-to-day, being in the weeds, working in the business, not on it, you're going to wake up in 10 years' time and you're going to be doing the exact same thing. But if you take some of that time and you start to move the needle towards development. Now, what is development? If we're using the analogy around shops, well, ultimately it's looking for the next location. It's hiring your replacement to stand behind the till. It's hiring your replacement to stack the shelves. It's bringing on new suppliers, launching new product lines, sending people to the cash and carry for you. Okay, it's raising funding to invest in, a newer version of what you're currently doing, a new shop, a new location, new hires. And if you do that for 10 years, you might wake up with 10 shops and you're going to be living a completely different life. You're going to be living one that has structure, that has people, that has systems, that has processes. And ultimately, the goal from that is to have a lot more wealth than what you have as one shopkeeper. You become a chain. You become the Walmart. You become the Costco. You become the Tesco's. That's the game. That's the game that we've got to play. And as an entrepreneur, for me, taking risks is so undervalued as a skill. Your appetite for risk, your ability to make a move, knowing that in actual fact, you're probably 99% going to fail, go bust, lose it all, and you're still going to do it anyway. You're going to put yourself through this pain, this anxiety, these sleepless nights, because you're focused on a vision that only you can see. That's true entrepreneurship. And if you're not willing to take a risk, if you want everything to stay, consistent, if you want to be comfortable, then, maybe you could run a small business, but even that's hard, okay? But in reality, my advice is don't become an entrepreneur and don't go into business, because it's painful for years and years and years and years. And that's why it chews up so many people and spits them out. But I always say life's going to be hard regardless. Choose your hard. If you stay small, it's going to be hard. If you go big, it's going to be hard. Choose your hard, because that's ultimately what you got to do. You got to choose your hard. I know what I'm choosing, but you've got to choose what you're going to choose, yeah? Because that's going to define, once again, how successful you are. The bigger the struggle, the more pain that you go through, hopefully that results in a bigger reward at the end of it. And that's how you should be seeing business growth.